I'm just so proud of what I accomplished.
You dreamt it into existence.
Yes, manifestation is real. Ayahuasca can change and help people, and God is real.
Can you do Canelo or not?
Yeah, let's do it, bro. That's what everyone wants to see. I want a bigger challenge. Come on.
Let's talk to Tom Gray, Deputy Editor for the Sporting News. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Shaking his head.
I'm just having a giggle at that quote. I want a bigger challenge than a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, so I'm going to leapfrog up to the pound-for-pound ratings to do it. Yeah, okay.
I mean, look, so I have to be really honest. I'm not a massive boxing fan when it's actually a proper fight, Tom. So like, I'm not best placed to suggest that, to criticise perhaps people who stayed up all night to watch this, or who it was the biggest part of their day, and different things are for different people. But what did you make of it?
It went pretty much the way I expected. I mean, I was saying yesterday, I watched Mike Tyson win the heavyweight championship of the world when I was 11 years old. And I turned 50 in April, which really tells its own story there. And I remember the decline. I remember him dropping off 20 years ago. He had maybe 2 or 3 good rounds in him, maybe 1 or 2 good rounds, actually, if I'm being honest, if we go to the Kevin McBride fight. He shouldn't have had a professional boxing license, but, take it to Texas, and the commission happily signed off on it. But it was an abhorrent spectacle. The good news is that a lot of eyes would have been on the Katie Taylor fight. That's the only good thing that came out of it, in my view. But the actual main event was just disgusting. I was just really, really upset with the whole thing.
The eyes on the sport is key, though, isn't it? That's one of the positives for it. There'll be kids in gyms now because of KSI, because of Jake Paul, because of it. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but they'll have discovered the sport through it. And if that is how you get through to young people now.
Yeah. No, look, if I can see some statistics on it, I'll buy it. I mean, other than that, it's guesswork. I'm not saying that that's not happened, because obviously it has. I would like to know at what scale. The issue that I've got with it, to me, it cheapens the sport. When I think of kids that are training for the top flight amateur competitions all over the world, all over the globe, putting in the proper sacrifice and the proper dedication, not getting even a fraction of the money that was at stake last night, or the professionals that are training at area or British level, or going on to Commonwealth, European level, not getting the attention. To see, a 58-year-old man that shouldn't be anywhere near a boxing ring going against a boxing novice, and not a very good one, putting up millions. I said yesterday, it's like an indictment against 21st century thought and reasoning. And the worrying thing about it, and I've got 2 kids, it's probably going to get worse. I mean, that was...
Yeah, do you know what? No, sorry to interrupt. I think you're absolutely right. It actually tells us more about what social media has done to society, right? I mean, and that is beyond boxing, beyond sport, just sort of life. And when we are sort of a similar generation who this thing arrived during our life, but when we were old enough to be sort of vaguely formed as humans. And I just think it must be so, like, life is just weird. Social media you can't put it back in the box, right? But this is what it has done. It leads to things like this.
And someone was saying to me yesterday, what will it take to stop it? And I said, look, as long as, Netflix were involved in that last night. That was the lead broadcaster. So Netflix will have, I would imagine marketing money's went into that and all the rest of it. They'll be happy with the investment. Someone asked me, how do you kill it off? Well, as long as people are willing to pay for it, the gate last night was record breaking, as I understand it. And that event was watched globally. So if Jake Paul can conjure up another ex-champion that shouldn't be in the ring, or get some other way of building a narrative to fight someone where it's a joke fight, then people are still going to pay for it, because he taps into a demographic that even mainstream elite level boxing doesn't, which I don't like, but that is the reality of the situation.
Sure. So then are we just old men or middle-aged men yelling at clouds? That's what this is, this conversation.
No, old was probably, you're probably right the first time. Yeah, I mean, look, even my boys know, because I've worked in boxing so long, they knew that was hot garbage last night, so they had no interest in it. But they were telling me constantly that all the friends at school were talking about it and stuff. And I think it's not our generation. We're going to have like a nostalgic feel looking back to when boxing made sense and events like this didn't exist. I mean, 20 years ago, right, if this had been suggested, you wouldn't have had enough money to get Mike Tyson out of bed for it, but now it's, like you say, the world's a completely different place, and they can justify just about anything as long as it involves a pound note.
But the sport ignores it at its peril, because boxing's always had an element of show business and chutzpah and all those things. I'm not saying the actual sport of it, the noble art of boxing, is obviously the hardest sport there is. But prize fighting has always had an element of show business to it. You ignore the YouTubers, you ignore TikTok, you ignore it at your peril, because it is the way that music. You look at the music business, for instance. Paul McCartney does TikToks, for goodness sake. Doesn't need to, but does them, because that is how he stays relevant. You know, you ignore these things at your peril. The sport needs to enhance what these guys are doing and take it on board and push the sport forward through the same techniques, rather than go, that's not us, that cheapens it.
No, I hate it. Does cheapen it, though. I mean, that is the reality. To me, that was embarrassing watching that last night. And if you look at the reaction from boxing insiders, and including some of the people that are probably over there. I mean, you can't lie with what was in front of you. I mean, I woke up this morning to countless text messages from people basically saying that it was a disgrace, that it was a waste of time, and blah, blah, blah. Now, I knew that before the first bell rang, and so did probably you guys. But it does cheapen it in that respect. I mean, if you've got this colossal build-up and all this hype, you want some payoff at the end. There was literally nothing. It was humiliating. The whole exercise, and even the way Jake Paul's talking, and he's playing the heel. But to me, a heel is Floyd Mayweather, who can play the bad guy, and you know, he's got his fans and he's got his detractors. But when it all comes together, he delivers in the ring. What you've got now is a heel that doesn't deliver, doesn't really care. He's got your money. In that sense, it does cheapen it.
That's
and
the thing.
that's the thing.
It does. It's not down to Jake Paul. It's not down to Jake Paul to do that. Jake Paul is there to make money out of show business, like P.T. Barnum before him in the circus. You know, there's a sucker born every minute. Jake Paul's job is to make money. And if people want to watch Jake Paul fight people, which they obviously do, then good luck, mate. You know, there's no rules in show business.
I hope he runs out of luck. I mean, I can't hide my disdain for it. I mean, it was the only good thing, literally the only good thing that came out of that last night was Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano getting millions of views that they wouldn't have otherwise got. Now, if that kind of thing keeps up, that's the one good part of it. But I can't sit here and say that it's all good. Listen, I admire Jake Paul as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as a visionary. If it was that easy to become a multi-millionaire, we'd all be doing it, right? So he's got there's an element of genius to his game. I don't dispute that. I just blame boxing in a sense, because it's the only sport you can do this with. You couldn't do it in football. You couldn't do it in tennis. Boxing is unregulated. There's no global governing body. There's no FIFA. There's nothing to stop this. You've got power and influence, so you swan right in. But by allowing that, you get what you got last night. And as much as what you need to, it's a balancing act. The good side versus the bad side. I sat watching that through my fingers last night, and I think the public reaction tells you all you need to know about the spectacle that it was. And as much as you can talk about entertainment or showbiz and all that, where was the entertainment?
No, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just sort of saying from Jake Paul's point of view, that's just what it is, isn't it? You know?
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
No, I'm with you, Tom. I agree with that. Look, thanks for coming on, Tom. I really appreciate that. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Tom Gray there, Deputy Editor of the Sporting News. It is Max and Charlie.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.